Hey guys, Bluebridge here. Transfer window's open, yet to make a video, but with all the news that's going on, decided to do one today, so let's get into it. I'm not going to be making a lot of transfer videos this season. Lots of other people are doing it. I'm just going to give my opinion on what's happening at the moment. Obviously, Liam Delap is signing. Well, he's signed. He's taken the photos already, apparently. But what are the club waiting for? I don't know. Big fanfare for his, or could it be a bit of PR? When the fans are in a bad mood, they'll introduce him, waiting for the right time. I'm not sure what it is, but he's with us, and we're after a couple of other players. And Maignan, as yesterday, the news was that we found an opportunity with Maignan. His final year and his contract at AC Milan, and he's available on the market for around about 25 million pounds, which is 30 million euro. So the fan base were getting excited over this move, and then today we hear that Chelsea want to lowball Milan and offer 10 million euro, which is 8.5 million pounds or something. And there's a massive meltdown in our fan base. We're going to mess this one up or whatever. The thing is, I'm staying calm over the transfer window because news is coming thick and fast. The news is fluid. One moment we're going to hear something, next minute we're going to hear something else. No point in stressing yourself out over news. Okay, if it doesn't happen and we mess this one up, yeah, I'll be disappointed. I'll be at the board on this one. But I don't get on the board for every little thing. I get on the board when I need to get onto the board. But with this one, let's wait and see how it plays out. What's the point in, as I said, stressing yourself out when we don't even know what's going to happen? And the thing is, we got to be sensible in the transfer market as well. Yeah, if Milan are not budging, then we can try and have a little bit of wriggle room, and eventually, because he's got 1 year left on his contract, then we can probably go down to like 20 million pounds, which is 25 million euro or something like that. And don't always believe the news, because the news coming out from Fabrizio Romano was that we'd offered 10 million, but other sources in Italy are saying that it's only a 5 million differential. So there's all sorts of different stories coming out, and a lot of our fan base was saying, "Oh, 25 million pounds or 30 million euro," out the way you want to put it. That's a good bargain. We should just give them the money and accept it. But that's not the way you do business. Everyone who does business, the club values a player at valuation. We don't go in at that valuation, no matter what. He's got a year left in his contract. We lowball it. We go down a bit, and then you meet somewhere in the middle. That's the way negotiations are done. Just because it's a good opportunity, just because he's a decent goalkeeper, and we're still getting him relatively cheap. But Milan, unless other teams come in for him, that's my only fear, that other teams come in for him. They haven't got a lot of scope because they risk losing him on a free, because he's not going to be signing a new contract with them. So we are in a good negotiation position at the moment, and so we have to be sensible with our money and our spending as well. If you want to criticise the board and the directors, criticise them for all the silly sales that they did earlier on in their tenure. The reason why we're in this situation at the moment, we've spent a lot of money on players who haven't fulfilled their potential, or youngsters who we wanted to flip at a profit and we haven't managed to do so. So we've ended up with over £1 billion of assets. And if you look at, I did some sums the other day actually, and because somebody was Arsenal fans always saying, "Oh, you got £1 billion, you spent £1.5 billion on your squad and everything else." So I did a little exercise where I looked at our squad that won the Conference League against Arsenal's squad that got knocked out in the semi-final against PSG, and I think, if I remember the math, our squad's costs. As I said, the one who just won the Champions League, I'm not looking at anyone on loan or anything. I'm just looking at the players. I think it was £70 million, I think it was, combined, whereas Arsenal's one was like something like £580 million. And it was only like 110 million difference between the two squads. So as I said, a lot of these other players that we've bought in, some are out on loan, and some people like the Sterlings and the Koulibalys, which we wasted a lot of money on at the beginning when the owners first took over. And you got the likes of your Santoses, your Chukwuemekas, and people like that who we bought, and they for 20 million here and the 20 million there, all adds up. Are they ever going to play for the club? Are they going to yield a profit for the club? That's yet to be seen. So yeah, I'm going to criticise them for those buys when they're buying all these kids, trying to gamble on them and just wasting money earlier. But okay, we are where we are now. We are in that position. But what they're doing now, they're trying to be a bit more sensible in the transfer market. They can't just go out and meet the valuation of every single player that we want to get. If you look at, we already have to pay a fine, if you remember, because we haven't met the FFP rules when it comes to Champions League. Okay, we've done some little dodgy deals that allowed us to do it in the Premier League, and news just came out today actually, where the Premier League have voted against club there was a situation where clubs were selling off to their sister clubs and other things to beat the financial fair play restrictions, and the Premier League have voted to keep it in place. So Chelsea can still exploit loopholes within the Premier League, but the Premier League, as I said, and the Champions League or UEFA are totally different. So we can't do that in the Europe. So for Champions League, and so we because this is our first breach. Because unfortunately for us, we haven't been in the Champions League. We've got to pay a fine, but I think Villa have to pay a fine as well. But if you look at what's happening at Barcelona, if people haven't paid attention to what's going on with them, because they've breached the financial fair play rules twice now. They're talking about either a points deduction. So it's all well and good, our fans saying spend. But if we find ourselves in this situation next season, then what's the point in having all these players if we can't play in the competition, or we're going to be playing with one hand tied behind our back because we'll be having a points deduction? So we've got to be sensible, because we're not privy to all the finances of the club. So we've got to trust the club in what they're doing. If they go out and start spending silly money on silly players, then as I said, I will have a go at them. But so to try and get the best possible deal for Maignan is sensible in my eyes. And Ekitike as well is another one where Eintracht Frankfurt are looking at 84 million, which is ludicrous in my eyes. He's got good potential, but 84 million is way too much money. Marmouche costs 54 million, older player, more experienced, and so for me, Ekitike, as good as he is, if we're not going to get him for under 60, then we walk away from that deal as well. Because we've got to fill out a defensive position as well. The opportunity is Byron Gittins. Again, the club are looking at 30 million for him. I think that Dortmund were after 50, but 30 million is a fair valuation. So that's what I'm saying. The club have to negotiate, so they got to start at a negotiating point rather than just paying the asking price. And also, if you look at the Italian clubs, look at the cheeky bids that they put in for our players. So it's not really, you can't call it an insult, because when they want one of our players, it's either a loan deal for 2 seasons and then we'll buy him for 5 million or something ridiculous like that. And so we got to show that, listen, we're no longer the club that Roman Abramovich had, where sort of money was no object. We're dealing in a different market now, so our finances have got to be a lot tighter. So, as I said, I'll be annoyed if we bodge this one up and don't get it over the line. But as I said, if we do, obviously it's not going to be 10 million or whatever. 18. If we get him for £18 million, then 18 to 20 million pounds, and it's a good deal. Lots of people were patting Marina Graniskova for exactly the same thing. For when clubs wanted high valuations for their players, she didn't budge until she got the price that she wanted. And we did that with Havertz and some other players as well. But Lukaku's the only one that we kind of buckled on because we were desperate for a striker at the time. But they used to pat her on the back. Yeah, she's once again, Marina's won. We've got all, got these players for a cut price deal, and we sold these players for premium deals. So it works both ways, guys. So just because a lot of you don't like these owners, anything they do, then you are crying and criticising them over it. As I said, let's just have a bit of balance in this, yeah? So that's my take on it. I'm not telling others how to think. But anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below. And don't forget, as always, like, subscribe, turn on post notifications, let me be notified every time I make a new video. So take care. Bye-bye.